Welcome to Choosing to Matter Cocktails with Chris, a space for open, honest, and unhurried conversations. In today's episode, we sit down with someone who's shaping our world with purpose and passion. I'm your host, Chris Lubkeman. Join me as we explore how our guest has chosen and chooses to matter. So Felix Graf, it is a pleasure to be here with you on our conversation of choosing to matter. First question for you. Where did we meet? Do you remember?
First off, thanks, Chris, for being here. It's always lovely to be with you.
Thank you.
I think we met many times. The most recent and most memorable one was at an event with Nicola Forster.
Yep.
But that was not the first time we met. We met 2 or 3 times before that.
Yeah.
But help me out.
Well, because I remember for me, the time when you really came into my consciousness in a big way was when we were together on stage with Andringer. And we were talking about the future of learning, the future of higher education, right? And that was the first time we really got to really have a real conversation.
Yeah.
And that was really, really quite cool.
Yeah.
I remember that very, very well. And the reason it was cool because your role now is the CEO of the NZZ, which is the largest German-speaking newspaper in Switzerland.
I wouldn't say the largest, but probably the most prestigious.
Okay, thanks for the correction. We'll take with that one. Largest circulation, the most prestigious. And there you also were thinking about the future. You think a lot about the future. It's something you've done quite a lot, and so I appreciate it. We'll come back a little bit later. So, second question, how did you get here this morning?
I took the tram.
You took the tram, and how long did it take you?
I don't really know because I worked. So I think it took me about 15 minutes.
Okay.
But this is a terrible thing. When I use public transport, I just always work. So I don't even realize where I'm coming from.
So if you were going on a bus across the Golden Gate Bridge, would you still be working?
Probably not.
Okay,
At least not on the first trips.
Okay, that's good. So the subtitle of our conversation, Choosing to Matter, Cocktails with Chris. And you have a cocktail which you like. And what is it?
So I chose a mojito. And to me, the mojito, I could have chosen 2 cocktails. One would have been caipirinha.
Caipirinha, yeah.
And the other one would have been a mojito. Caipirinha is more a thing of my past.
Okay.
I spent 4 to 5 months in Brazil at my uncle's.
Yeah.
So that's where I learned Portuguese a bit.
Yep.
And really learned to love and meet the country. So I drank a lot of caipirinha or caipirosca there. And the other one is the mojito, which I've been windsurfing, kite surfing, now wing foiling for the last 20, 30 years with a friend.
Yep.
And we always took 1 week of holidays.
Nice.
And so usually we go to Fuerteventura, and that's where we have our mojitos. So it's a very positive memory for me.
That's great, very dynamic.
And also dynamic.
Warm, and says associated with the beach. Well, let's give it a try, because here the Schweizerhof bartender has made one for us. And cheers, zum Wohl.
Cheers, Chris.
There we go.
Lovely
Cheers.
to be here.
It's great
today.
to have you here. Let's give it a quick try. It's a beautiful, beautiful color, beautiful drink.
Ooh. Well done.
It's very fresh. I think we should have another sip. We'll take another sip in here. It's beautiful. How old were you when you were in Brazil?
20.
20.
So I had to come back just before the carnival to go to the military service, and I was totally frustrated about that. So considered to stay and never go back to Switzerland.
Oh my God. Well, I'm glad you came back. I think we're all glad you came back. It's a very good thing for all of us. And when you're thinking about that, so when you were 16, what did you want to do? Because you bombed out of here, went to Brazil for a while.
I wanted to become a musician.
A musician?
Yeah. My dad was big in jazz.
Okay.
He actually also had done his PhD at ETH in chemistry, but his passion had always been jazz, and so he was a guitar player, and so jazz was part of my upbringing, and I always listened to it. So early on, when people started to listen to pop, I started to listen to Charlie Parker.
Nice.
And so this has been going on. So I started then to play saxophone, and during my high school years, I did almost only that. So I played a lot.
Yeah.
And so around the age of 16, 17, I was very sure of myself. I went to Boston, to Berklee School of Music, to see whether this could be my next step. And there were two moments in there. One, going there and realizing how good all those people are. It was really a setback.
Yeah.
And the other one was a discussion with my dad, who said, listen, music is a very, very tough business.
Yeah.
Do something that you're passionate about and try to continue playing music. And that's what in the end I did.
So the music has stayed with your life.
It stayed with my life.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm practicing the 4 hours anymore that I did a day at the time. So now it's more like 2 hours a week, but still try to...
So keeping your fingers limber.
Yes.
And the lips
Yes.
limber,
Yeah, a bit.
And when you were at Berklee, when you said, well, these guys are so good, did it scare you? Or did when you say, what?
Yeah, in two ways. I mean, it's so great to listen to those people.
Yeah.
I was just in New York in September, and I spent 3 nights at the jazz club listening to jam sessions.
Yeah.
And it's just lovely to listen to them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I realized I was probably never going to get there. Missing talent, probably starting too late, whatever, having other passions. So I think it was the right decision.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. I think it was the right decision. I can't say that. I've never heard you play, so I can't say
Trust me.
one way or another.
Trust me, it was the right decision.
So then you decided not to pursue jazz. And so what did you decide to pursue then? I wasn't certain about it initially, and I think serendipity plays a big role in our lives, much more than we realize. And I liked science a lot at the time. I was very good in languages, so that was easy for me. So I speak many languages too. But science attracted me more from a structural point of view, and I had a very good physics teacher, and that helped. Yeah.
I had a very boring chemistry teacher, so I was still interested in chemistry, but then I decided to go to the ETH and study physics and chemistry, so a combination.
But it's really interesting how, well, you just said this serendipity, or just the fate of having a good teacher or a not so good teacher can have such an impact.
Yeah, and I think it shows very clearly what is the importance of education in general. And education is much more than just content, it's people. Yeah,
and people in connection, because then you clearly felt with this teacher who was doing physics, a connection that allowed you then to springboard, as you said, to go to the ETH. And to study, and you studied, as you said, physics and chemistry.
Yeah, it was. It still exists. It's called interdisziplinaire Naturwissenschaften. I can almost not pronounce it. It's such a complex word, and that's a combination of physics, chemistry, and biology. And depending in which direction you move, you set your
Schwerpunkt, your major.
You major in different things. So I concentrated more and more onto physics, moving on.
And what caught your eye in physics? Why was that so fascinating?
In those years, around the age of 19, I read a lot of philosophy.
Philosophy? Ah, interesting.
I studied the Mahabharata and all the Indian books. I read a lot of German philosophers. And also Kant and these people. And I started to realize how interconnected physics and philosophy were.
Interesting.
And what appealed to me in physics is the language, which is a very structured language with mathematics. And interestingly enough, what I learned at ETH was way of expressing that was very different from what you learn in high schools, where you learn a lot of formulas. But at the ETH level, we learned how to really go one level deeper and think about these things and how to set up equations, but starting with the right questions.
Yeah.
So one of my most preferred books till today is a book written by a science historian, Einstein's Dreams.
Oh, yes.
You might know that.
I do know that. It's a great book.
Alan Lightman.
Yeah. Fantastic. And what did you find so fascinating with that book? Why do you like that one?
Because a lot of people think that physics is a very structured and kind of boring thing. And in that book, he describes how, in this Annus Memorabilis, 1905, Einstein falls asleep at Speichergasse in Bern at the Patentamt and starts to dream of worlds where time has a different meaning or form, where it's being circular, where it's being discontinuous, where it's being dependent on height. And he dreams and he describes these worlds. And I think that's much closer to physics than many of the other things that people think about.
When I think about it, I haven't thought about that book in a long time. I do remember reading it and being very impressed. And you said two things I find intriguing. Starting with the right questions. And how do you find the right questions? And in physics, is that part of the search? And how does that relate to physics and where you springboarded to your later life?
I think to look for the right question and then to spend time on that right question is at the front or is at the top. So if you spend your time on the wrong questions, you can spend a lot of effort, but might not reach it. So this looking for the right questions is very fundamental in physics, and has continued to be in physics, but has also continued in other sciences. And I found that fascinating.
So how do we find the right questions? What do you use? You sort of a matrix or a method in which you use to find them?
I think a lot is luck again, or serendipity. A lot is the right form of interactions, and there's also a lot connected to time. Certain questions are already in certain times. And looking back at this E equal mc square, the time was ready for that. I'm convinced that if Einstein didn't come up at the time with that, others would have come up with that, be it Lorentz, be it other people that were involved in that, be it Minkowski. So many physicists or mathematicians were thinking about similar things. So also time is critical.
So time and also the context of that moment
Yes.
and what was cooking around.
Yeah.
So asking the right questions in context. So you were at ETH, you were studying chemistry and physics, sort of like, for me, a glutton for punishment. I mean, this is just like, so that's like super heady stuff. You were playing jazz on the weekends, or were you still playing music during
I was
ETH?
still playing music.
Yeah.
I tried to finance my studies with that, so I played on weddings and stuff like
Very
that.
cool. Oh, fun. That's great.
Wasn't always the best music.
Yeah, but you know.
But still, it was good. It was good.
But that's really cool that you did that. I mean, and that you worked on the side to make it happen.
Yeah, and it was actually quite tough because the majors in physics, they all had only 18 hours a week, and doing chemistry practica, I had to work 40 hours a week. So
Wow.
so it was a challenge. It was a challenging time. ETH is a tough university.
Yeah. Yeah, it was and still is.
And still is.
Yeah. So you continued in school for a while. I mean, in higher education for a while. You didn't just say, okay, I'm done, and you must have loved it.
I really loved it, and I realized that I had learned a lot, and I had been able to stand on shoulders of the giants, but I also wanted to work personally on some scientific things and to go deeper. And so that's when I decided to go for a PhD. And of course, it was also my family had enough money to allow me to do so, although at the time I was already financing myself. And then I was an assistant, which allowed me to
get paid to work, to teach, and
my
do research.
former wife, she did the same. She studied biology and majored in, or did her PhD in biology. So we spent those years together.
Yeah. And so then you finished your PhD, and the topic was?
It was in quantum optics.
Quantum optics.
Yeah, it's these type of things that now people talk about. ERP is a big Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen, or quantum cryptography and quantum computing and these type of things. That was very early stage.
So you're a man ahead of his time.
Probably I was just too early.
You're the early adopter, sort of the bleeding edge, so to say.
Truly bleeding.
Yeah,
truly bleeding.
Yeah.
And I loved it, but I started to realize that I couldn't explain to anybody what I was doing.
Yeah.
And there were about 5 people in the world who were interested in what I was doing.
And 2 of them were not your parents, per se. Maybe not even your wife, so there you go.
None of them. So I started to feel that it was a slightly niche-y.
Yeah. And that's where then you ask yourself another question. Yeah. The right question again. What to do?
I'm not sure whether it was the right question, but at the time I thought, do I move into an industry lab? Do I go to Swiss Re or do I do some calculations there? And I thought, no, if I stay in science, I would want to become a professor at some stage. And for different reasons, actually very similar reasons as in music, I wasn't convinced that I would be one of these top shots. And I think science is there's a very thin line to then become, for example, a professor at Stanford, at MIT, in these fields or at ETH. And it wasn't sure for me that I could be one of those. And so I thought, okay, let's try something new. And so I went into consulting, not because I knew what I was going to get into, but I thought, okay, there I can build up my repertoire
and learn a lot
of capabilities and learn a lot.
Because one of the things I think that's always impressed me about you in all of our interactions is how much you do enjoy learning continually. And I think this is something which we all have to do, and I think in your role today. So you went into consulting. Let's springboard up to today. Because today, so what are you doing today? So we're going to pop. Who are you today?
Oh, who am I today?
Yeah.
I'm trying to manage a crowd of very independent, very intelligent people who are not manageable.
And I'm sure you tell them that too.
Yes. I do.
At every occasion you can,
So I'm not afraid to hear that on a podcast. No, so I'm the CEO of a media company, and our main focus is on quality journalism. And what I find fascinating about that, and this is an analogy to the work I've done at ETH, you are together with people that are very passionate about what they do, and they're very purposeful, and they're also very independent, very independent thinkers.
But it's also about asking the right questions. This is their job, really.
Their everyday job is try to find out what are the right questions, but also to see are the answers that we get, are they the right ones?
Interesting.
Or is somebody trying to shape our views? And we're in the world where everybody is trying to shape our views. Fake news has never been bigger.
I find fake news a bit of an odd thing, considering that it basically often lies. So that's what.
Lies is one extreme.
I don't like fake news as a term. My personal thing. So, how would your grandparents? Are your grandparents still living?
Nope.
No, I'm sorry. Neither are mine. But this age, they age out.
It just happens.
If your grandparents were living today, how would you describe to them your role, not necessarily your title, but your role?
I would say, listen, I work in this wonderful building on Bellevue.
Fair, it is.
And then they probably would ask me, do you write? And I said, oh, thanks God, not.
No.
And then they would ask me, what do you do every single day? And then I would say, listen, working a lot with people, trying to develop people, trying to bring an organization together, working on culture, working on making things work.
Yeah. And that has a lot to do with intent, but also serendipity.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you bring, I have to come back to how do you bring serendipity into your life today?
My career hasn't been a very systematic career, not at all. But I think I've always tried to get new inspirations. And I find people very inspiring. So that's also one thing that in my lab world I start to miss out a bit on. So a lot of hours I spent in a lab, in a dark lab, working on samples at temperatures of 1.7 Kelvin or even lower.
Phew, that's cold.
That's truly cold. It's really cold. It's super fluid temperatures.
Yeah.
And I started to miss out a bit the interaction with people.
Yeah.
So I meet a lot of people. I interact with a lot of people. I read a lot. I try to learn every single day.
Yeah.
And I find that fascinating.
And that's important, I think, especially when we're looking at the future and how we get to the future and where we imagine the future to be. So when you were in consulting, did you imagine that you would be the CEO of Enthusiast within, was it a decade and a half or so, or 2 decades?
Never, ever.
Yeah.
Never, ever.
Yeah.
And actually, even 10 years ago, I would have never imagined that.
Yeah.
So it kind of happened. And interesting enough, and I mentioned that already on a couple of events, but I just like the story so much. When I was asked back in 2017, they called me. I was on holidays with my family,
Yeah.
and they called me and asked me whether I would be interested to evaluate this option. I went home. We were on the beach, and my daughter was not there, and I went home and I told my family, listen, they just called me and they came up with this weird idea. And at the time, I used to be CEO of an energy company, so it was totally different. And so my daughter said, but don't they have anybody better than you? She was 16, so kids are very honest. She hates it if I mention it, because I've been mentioning it over and over
for a
again.
while.
But I just loved you.
And she's no longer 16.
She's now 26.
Yeah, exactly. So now she's like, oh my God, I can't. Yeah.
Or 18, she was 18, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great story.
Yeah.
Don't they have anyone
and
better?
actually, that was the question that brought me into the process.
Interesting. How so?
In the sense of when the chairman asked, talked to me, and I said, listen, but am I the right person for this role? Because I saw the challenges. The challenges in the media industry are enormous. Economically, very difficult. At the time, I looked at the development of the bottom line, so of the profitability of the company, and it was obvious that within 5 years, if we would continue like that, we would not be profitable anymore. And so I was afraid that after Swissair, NZF would be the next iconic Zurich brand that would go down.
Yeah.
I didn't imagine it would be Credit Suisse.
Yeah. Well, none of us did. None of us did.
So that was one of the discussions I had during those interviews. Why should I be the right person for the role? What can I contribute? What can I deliver? And given my age, I was already at the stage of the third phase of your professional life, where you also want to make sure. I think I had this as a continuous arch over all my steps, but even more now, wanting to matter and doing something which is purposeful. And so I also didn't want to screw it up.
Yeah, sure.
It's too important.
I'm glad you accepted for all of us. and how you make the choices. And so, as we think about those choices, as you said, you're CEO of an energy company. After consulting, you were a couple of different roles. You were in energy.
I was in telecoms.
So both tech.
And then I was on the media side.
On the media side for a bit.
Yeah. And now publishing, media.
And so all of those have a lot to do both with the present but also the future, because energy is what we need to fuel our contemporary society. And communications of all kinds is almost it's impossible to imagine that at one point you had to actually think about how much a phone call was going to cost you. Right? This is so interesting to think in our lifetime what has changed. What has been the biggest change which you feel you've observed in society today, in your lifetime? When you think back to good old when I was a kid, what would you say is the biggest change which has occurred? Or a couple of the biggest changes?
Can I go one step back on that question?
Yeah.
Rifkin, he when he analyzes transformations, industrial revolutions, he says, and I like the framework, he says 3 things need to come together. Logistics needs to change, communication needs to change, and energy needs to change. And if you look at these 3 dimensions and they come together, then you have an industrial revolution. So
interesting.
The latest one, the way he positioned it, I've read the book many years ago, so I might not cite it totally correctly, but he said on the communication side, what has changed is it's now a machine-to-machine communication. So it's not a communication anymore between humans. On the energy side, it has become much more decentral. And on the logistical side, we have come away from these big centers and moved more and more into 3D printing and type of decentral logistics and production. And so I think this third industrial revolution that we've seen in the last years has been a fundamental change. And very visible for many of us has been the transformation on the communication side. I mean, looking back, I lived as a kid with my parents in Italy, and I was a big fan of FZZ. That's the Swiss local, Zurich local soccer team. And the only way I could get informed about those results was the international Neue Zürcher Zeitung, which was sent to us on Tuesday to reflect what had been played on Saturday.
Interesting.
So I always learned about what the team had played on Saturday, on Tuesday.
3 days later.
This is unthinkable today.
But it's interesting. That was normal, right?
It was normal at the time. It was normal at the time. And so I think that's one transformation that we've seen that is very visible. I think we're now moving also with the LLMs, with the transformation of artificial intelligence into a new area. It was very interesting for me to see that. I mean, I started to work 30 years back on the first neural networks, and it was always AI was always 30 years out. But now we're really seeing some
like fusion.
Like fusion, but I'm a big fan of fusion. I think we're now really 30 years out. It might come.
It might come. Well,
it might come.
Actually, let's hope it does. Manageable fusion.
Manageable fusion.
But let's take that. I want you to spring into the future then. If we look back, I love that. I love your anecdote there with the waiting for the soccer scores, because I think I can relate to that as well. But let's look to the future. When you look ahead, what excites you about the future?
Technology has always been part of the solution. Of course, it's always been a part of the challenges of the society too. But I think what we see is how in this very messed up world, technology might help us to solve certain things. And so I'm very convinced that without technology, will not be able to solve the world that we're in. And I realize that there are many, many critical things. If we just think about all the drones that are used in warfare, if we think about the risks that come along with AI, if we talk about the fake or the lies that are being propagated, they're also connected to technology. But in the end, it's only humans using that technology. But I'm convinced that technology will help us, if at all, to make this world still a living world. And I always see you with your SDGs, and so I think we have many challenges ahead. And actually, this physics teacher, if I can jump back a second, he presented us back in 1985 with the results from Hawaii.
Oh,
and
interesting.
Since 1955, I think, they measured CO2 on Hawaii. And already back in 85, it was very obvious it was anthropogenically induced. And so I found it very frustrating to see how many IPCC reports we had to produce in order to make everybody believe that here we have an issue that we need to address.
It comes down to communication.
It comes down to communication.
Right. And communication and how humans understand the science, but also the implications. Because most humans have a very difficult time thinking about the future. It's very difficult to imagine. And so I'm kind of curious about how you imagine life here, say in Zurich and Bellevue, and the trams, and here in this beautiful nation that we're sitting in. How do you imagine, say, 2040, 2050, 2100? What do you see? How do you see that world?
I mean, your citation, I could bring up your citation that you brought during the TEDx, which I loved a lot. I don't really know. We probably underimagine things. I see a world that is still livable. I see a world where humans will still be part, also, although we're trying to do our best.
We're trying to do our best to kind of write us out of the equation in some way. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
And the geologists would say, so what? So I really don't know. But I mean, on the other side, I also find it fascinating looking back, and I know that with exponential developments, looking back is always a bit of a critical thing, because you're missing out on the really big changes. But if you read a book like Factfulness, where you realize how the technological advancements have made the world a better place, and how every single day after us is a better place than the day before, that makes me very positive thinking about the future, without knowing exactly whether it will be flying taxis, whether it will be whatever sort of transports. What I'm worried about right now is that too many people in this society are not ready anymore to invest in certain things. Everything that is close to them right now, and this NIMBY or banana or what you want to call it, not in my backyard phenomenon, is very, very strong in this society. And it disturbs me, because I'm convinced we need all to contribute.
A collective. We need a collective action. You know, I think this is also quite important. You know, I think there's, to me, I always think of the letters of me and we. Me and we, you just flip the M or W upside down. There are two sides to essentially one thought, which is how we work together, but how me. What's about me, it's about we. And how, and this also with year 2040, which is why the Y is in brackets. Because it's our future, our 2040, and it's your 2040. So it's our vision for the future. So if we think about 2040, what do you think is perhaps one of the most important actions which you're taking now to make the future the best place it can be? And then after that, what we should all be thinking about. So what are you personally doing to make a difference towards a thrivable future?
Let me get one step back. When I moved out of telecoms at the time, I decided to move into an area that would matter on that time scale. And I identified 2 areas that I would feel passionate about and that I thought I might be able to contribute something to. And there were energy and there were education. And at the time then, again, serendipity, luck, whatever, I went into the field of energy. So that was back in 2010. And my belief was that the world needed to move much more strongly towards renewables. And that electric cars was the right solution for private mobility.
Yep.
And that was why I then started to work in this field of energy. And I tried to pursue these things on a smaller scale.
Yep.
I also looked at a large company. They were at the time building up a large network of electric cars. They burned 900 million, went bust. It was even before Musk.
Yep.
And Tesla was in parallel to what Musk tried.
Yep.
So I was lucky not to move into that.
Yeah, well done. Yeah. Good. You asked the right question, made the right decision. That was good.
The company, by the way, was called Better Place.
Oh, yeah. Was that Sunil?
It was Shai Agassi.
Shai, yeah.
Not Sunil, but Shai, former SAP manager,
Yep.
and we were close.
Yep.
And I was considering to join him
Yeah.
and work in that. And then I went into something slightly different. So at the time, I was really focusing on these 2 things because I think, and you mentioned that earlier on, the change of the energy system and of the power system will be very critical, and the move will be very strongly from energy to power.
Yeah.
I'm convinced about that. There are many challenges with that. You will need to solve the molecularization because of storage questions, but there are solutions out there.
So explain just very briefly the difference between energy and power.
So energy can be anything, can be heat, and power is always electricity. So electricity is the basis for many of the energy solutions. Yeah. Be it when you generate heat, like heat pumps, or big in transport where you instead of energy coming from petrol and being transformed into mobility at the rate of 28%, which is ridiculous. Yeah. I saw once a futurist, and he said, think about a guest that comes into your house. He brings a bottle of the finest wine, Baron Rothschild 1965. And the first thing you do is you untap it and you go into the kitchen and you throw away 2/3 out of the bottle. Oh. Would that guest ever bring you a bottle again? No. And probably the answer is no.
No, never.
So the electric car with a conversion rate of around 80% is definitely a better solution. Yeah, better solution. I think it's so obvious. It's so bluntly obvious. Yeah. And of course, I mean, I've been driving electric cars for the last 13 years now. Yeah. I always also hate it if I need to charge a car a bit longer, but so what?
It's life. I mean, but I think it's great. Your point there, the efficiency is quite interesting.
Yeah.
When we're looking to the future and future efficiencies in so many ways.
Yes.
There's a lot of low-hanging fruit with that.
Yeah, and I think we have many of the solutions out there. Yeah. We don't need to wait for nuclear fission.
No.
Or fusion.
No, we don't. No, we don't have to wait. We can do now.
I mean, by the way, I'm not against nuclear fission. I mean, nuclear power can be part of the solution. Why not? Yep. SMRs can be interesting. They will develop in the next years. Yeah, totally. I think we should be open to many solutions. Yeah. We'll be a world with many things to be joined and come together.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I really, truly do. So, why did you choose to take the role at NZZ?
Interestingly enough, it's the only media company I would have worked for in Switzerland.
Really?
Yeah, which is a bit limiting too, because
Yeah.
if they throw me out, I have a problem. I don't know what to do after that.
I'm sure you'll land on your feet, my friend. I'm sure. No doubt.
I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, I'm firmly convinced of bottom-up solutions, of people taking solutions in the system, and I'm firmly a believer in the Swiss democratic system. Mm-hmm. And in order to have this type of educated opinion building, you need to have independent sources. Mm-hmm. So, do I like everything we write every day? No, of course not. Mm-hmm. Do I share every perspective? Of course not. Mm-hmm. But so what? Or even better, it's important.
It's critical. Yeah,
it's
absolutely,
critical.
Yeah.
So I find to try to give a factual view or a different perspective onto different topics. Mm-hmm. So critical in this world where everybody is just looking for the short answers. Mm-hmm. And we have now a presidency in the US which has done that for many years now. Yeah. I'm worried that it will even get worse there. Yeah. Let's hope not. Yeah. Let's hope not. Einstein once said, make it as simple as possible, but don't make it simpler.
Interesting. Make it as simple as possible, but don't make it simpler. Yeah. Right. That's a great quote.
So it's one of my preferred quotes, and I think that's the role that I see that comes to media companies, mm-hmm. to help people getting a perspective. They still need to build their own opinions, mm-hmm. But to get different perspectives.
But how do we apply that to thinking about the future? To make the future as simple as possible. And we're looking at 2.8 degrees C global change, a Switzerland with no glaciers. Now, how do we make that simple without being simpler?
I think the way that we're currently trying to solve certain things, we're trying to make them simpler because we just don't accept that there are compromises that we need to go for.
Yeah.
And yes,
that's a good point.
It might be a compromise to build up wind turbines. Do I like them in the landscape? Not necessarily. Personally, I like them because I'm a tech guy, so mm-hmm. I like their shape. I find them this Danish shape, I find them very beautiful. Yeah. But I also understand if people say they prefer, they're disturbing, or solar panels, or whatever, or mm-hmm. New hydro plants. So I think we need to find a right compromise mm-hmm. on these elements. And right now, we're not ready to make compromises.
Right. Kind of come back to the we, and not just the me. Yeah, that's a really good point. Actually, I like that. So, if you could leave our listeners with one question or one message, what would you leave our listeners with as a question that they could ask themselves, or an action which they could be doing?
I always loved the commercial of Patek Philippe saying, I just borrowed this watch for my son. Yeah. And I think similarly, my question would be, do we do the things the way as if we borrowed this world from our future children and grandchildren?
That's really beautiful. It's a great question to ask. That's really beautiful. Felix Graf, it has been absolutely a pleasure to chat. And thank you for sharing your story and for your choices as you have crafted a life that matters. And I truly thank you and appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much for listening today. It's really been a pleasure to share this story with you. And I look forward to seeing you again soon and meeting our next guest. And as always, do something today that makes a difference in somebody's life. Choose to matter.